Hi guys, and welcome back to the Crypto Atlas. In today's episode, we're going to be focusing on two primary things. That's going to be a quick update on what's going on with Orchid, aka OXT, as well as with Bitcoin BTC. And if you guys are new to the channel, please do not forget to hit that subscribe button. It definitely helps us out, and we are trying to get on that road to 1,000 subs. So every single one of you guys is definitely appreciated. And if you also haven't yet, make sure you hit that like button. The more likes that we get, the more comments we get, the better the discoverability is for this video. If we could try and push for, say, maybe 50 likes on this video, it'd be really appreciated. Okay, so let's go ahead and take a look here. First thing at Orchid, and we also have to make sure that we make note that I am not a financial advisor. Anything that I'm sharing with you guys, this is for entertainment purposes. I highly recommend that you guys go do further research behind everything. We're looking at this on the 1 hour chart. And looking at the 1 hour chart, we can see that we've had a pretty steady decline ever since we had this big push up back on August 16th that just shot all the way up to $1. But it's been a very steady, slow kind of feed off of this. We did see a little bit of a pump up action again around August 28th and a slow consolidation just kind of trickling down. And with Bitcoin and the other cryptocurrencies, Ethereum, even the stock market, gold, which I talked about in a separate video. If you guys want to check that out, I highly recommend it. We've seen everything just drop real recently, and it's starting to show large indicators of what's called a dead cat bounce. So we might even see a further decline. And we should also really keep an eye, especially I myself have been keeping an eye on this. And when I see Bitcoin going down, I'm looking at the charts over at Orchid. At the same time, it's almost side-by-side action. And, you know, I don't know for sure, but part of me is kind of wondering if because of the price of Orchid, because of the application and the potential behind something like this, that there might be bots already set up for buy orders on this. And so if Bitcoin just starts going straight to the moon, those bots might be ready to push this and just ride it out the whole way too. It's just very unusual seeing such increments change side by side so fast. It's just a speculation of what I'm saying. I don't have further information to back that up. If you guys have any suggestions of resources that I might be able to look to identify something like that, definitely let me know in the comments below, because I would love to look into it and I would love to share it with everybody else. But taking a look at this, we can see that there's been a decline down in the actual volume itself. We've seen a decline in the RSI, as well as moving just along in the actual hourly chart. With the decline in the RSI, we just got very close to tapping below being oversold. We actually had that happen a couple days ago. It was oversold even yesterday. Technically, it was oversold a bit. And so we tend to see trend reversal patterns. With this being a descending wedge-based pattern, it's actually starting to come closer and closer towards that fine line thin point right here. As you guys can see, let's go ahead and zoom in on the daily for you. We did have a beautiful bounce right off here. In fact, yesterday, we can see that the wicks almost played dead end perfect to fitting in that space. And you can even tell it's almost an exact replica of the day before. I mean, that's very, very close in comparison to where the price had started. Where it had started down here and where it had finished. And then here is where it started, and then that's where it finished. So it's a almost complete reversal of everything that had been gained that day, bringing it right back to the previous day until it had a further decline as of today's point. Volume was up just a little bit more than the previous day, or the day after. My apologies with this. So that is what's going on with Orchid. I would really keep an eye out, guys. This is getting closer and closer to the point. We're looking right around September 10th or so as being a breakout point of like no more going into a consolidated space. It's got to do something, because this pattern is just kind of weaning itself out. So very curious to see what's going to happen there. But more importantly, where this breaks out is more than likely going to be tied to what's going on with Bitcoin. So I actually did a little bit more here, and this is what I want to kind of more focus on in this video, is we set up a Fibonacci retracement. I decided to set the top based on this consolidated zone right before we had this big drop off, and I noticed something very interesting. Set the bottom up is where we had this final dip, and of course you're going to have at the very top the consolidated zone, and the very bottom, that's not a big surprise right there. But what is a big surprise is that we can actually see that we're combating against this 0.382 level. It had passed through, nearly touched the 0.5, had a full retracement back, and was essentially trying to break below that support of the 0.382. And then when this broke through, it touched the 0.618, and then same thing, came back and basically touched the 0.5, and then was forming more or less a consolidated zone there until eventually it decided to have a full breakout, and that breakout pushed it all the way down to the 0.786 and a continuation, but retraced back. And where did it stop? On the 0.786. Same thing right here. A lot of battling, and we're seeing that this Fibonacci retracement has a lot of very good placements here. So the scary thing is that we could potentially see it dropping further for several reasons. The CME gap, which is also kind of a speculative thing. It doesn't necessarily have to be filled. It's just about 90% of the time in the past it has been filled. So you're looking right around $9,700, $9,600 range that Bitcoin could potentially pull back to with that before it starts to have a climb back up, depending on what's all going on in the market. We are seeing that it's below the 20 EMA, so it's still a bearish indicator there as well. So short term, this doesn't look too great. Long term, it's still got a higher low. We're still in a bullish trend, not a bearish trend. So if you guys are looking at this from a long-term perspective, the signs are still fine. We have pullbacks. This is all natural. I wouldn't be too worried about it, but you should be prepared for some stormy, rocky seas that's going to be coming up ahead. And if you need to get out, make sure you figured out where you can take your profit. If you're looking long-term for this, I'm a hodler. You could hodl and just keep waiting for it till it moves on. And in the meantime, you can dollar cost average. You buy the dips, and that actually brings your average price from what you had up high and down low to more average consensus. So we're looking at right around the $9,600, $9,700 range, as I told you. And if we have a climb up, we could see it break. If it pushes back up and retests right around the 0.618 level, we're seeing around $10,500 again. And the next level is going to be around 10,600. Then we start to climb back up 10,800, pushing above 11,000, and then that big rally as we try to continue on our way back to reaching all new all-time highs and the old all-time high of $20,000. Of course, there's a couple other steps in between there, but you get the point. So speaking of which, this is why I highlighted this. I thought this was kind of silly, but over on finance.yahoo.com, their research highlights the very first thing that they lead off with is that Bitcoin collapsed near triple Fibonacci amplitude arcs. Is this a sign of pending reversal for other assets? It is very likely that Bitcoin price levels will fall below the May through July levels near 9,000 in an attempt to identify new support levels. All right, but then they say this. The 8,000 level would be the next downside price target. Beyond that, possibly 7,000 or even 6,000. I mean, why stop there? You know? I mean, what's the next one? Let me guess. Based on this trend, would it be 5,000, 4,000, maybe even 3,000 or 2,000? I guess that's possible. 1,000 could go down to 1,000. Could go to 0,000, and then after that, it'd be negative 1,000. Be like oil. Oh God. 2020 isn't over yet. Oh God, 2020 isn't over yet. Anyways, they show you some different charts here. Just the fact that they would kind of lead off with that. Now, you know, it's 10,000, 9,000, maybe next level we're looking at would be testing around 8,000, 7,000, or even 6,000. Jeez, I just feel like they could have led that off a little bit better. It sounded really unprofessional as a way to start an article. Warren Buffett and Berkshire Hathaway, I mean, I guess it's true, but like it doesn't really sound like you did technical analysis. It's just sounding like you're saying every $1,000 it goes down. Over here, we have Buffett. This is actually something that's considered bullish for Bitcoin and the cryptocurrency space. A lot of you guys may not know who Warren Buffett is, so just real briefly, he's a very famous investor into the stock market, but he's also been kind of anti-technology for a lot of stuff. A long time, he was downplaying Amazon, and so when he was introduced to Bitcoin, he equated it to quote-unquote rat poison squared. And yeah, needless to say, he's not actually a big proponent supporter of Bitcoin. But what's interesting is that he's also been known to voice his opinion against gold as a safe haven asset. And now he's been moving, and now he's even moved even more of his investments into banks away from that and actually moving it into businesses that mine gold. So he's not necessarily investing in gold, but he's investing in the businesses that go out and actually mine this. So this is in regards to Wells Fargo. And Berkshire Hathaway, which Warren Buffett also works with, substantially cut their position on Wells Fargo, selling 100 million shares. So I think that it's important to note, because some people might spread false news, he's not completely out of the game with Wells Fargo. He just took a very large portion out. So Berkshire reportedly held $32 billion in equity in Wells Fargo at some point, right? The investment conglomerate now owns 3.3% equity of the lender, worth just $3.36 billion. So they still have over $3 billion invested into the bank, but they took out quite a bit. I mean, they sold 100 million shares. So the whole sentiment behind the bank systems is not looking so good. And then as far as for like some reasons why, Cointelegraph has a nice little article here. 3 reasons why Bitcoin suddenly dipped under 10,000 today and recovered. And I just highlighted a couple key points with this, but they're asking like if the whales took profit off of all this, right? So there's some key metrics from the trends of what they looked at in the past, and they noticed some discrepancies. When the price of Bitcoin suddenly dropped by 5% to $9,975 on Binance, BitMEX liquidations were below $40 million. Typically, when a massive price movement occurs, it causes over $100 million worth of future contracts to get wiped out. So 40 million, but normally we look at 100 million. The future data suggests that the selling pressure came from the spot market. While possible, there is a low probability that retail investors began to dump aggressively at above 10,500. Whales taking profit at 10,500, which has historically served as a multi-year resistance level for Bitcoin, is more likely. But whales have been taking profit since Bitcoin achieved $12,000. As Cointelegraph previously reported, a whale sold at $12,000 after hodling Bitcoin for over 2 years. So I want to kind of tie this in with the next point, which I'm just going to go ahead and read here. But let me just go ahead and read it. Miners send a certain amount of BTC to exchanges periodically, so they already have a large amount of BTC in the exchange. Whenever they decided to sell, it seems they move a relatively significant amount of BTCs to other wallets, and some of them are going to exchanges. So when the Bitcoin miners are in a position like we're at right now, hash rates are reaching all-time highs. Meaning the difficulty to be able to mine for a Bitcoin using your processor is getting harder, which means the chance of you making money on your time and your equipment that you have goes down. There's more competition and the protocol changes to make it more difficult, right? So at some point, you got to be able to pay for your costs. You got to pay for your electricity. You got to pay for new equipment. You got to pay all these other things, right? So a lot of times miners will capitulate and they will sell their cryptocurrency. They'll sell their Bitcoin, which means that when it goes to the exchanges and stuff, we're seeing them trying to reaccumulate back some of their lost profit so they can put it back into the system and be able to maintain. And the weaker miners, the ones that don't have enough financing to be able to support themselves above water, if there is a negative impact going on in the actual industry space, well, a lot of them might just call it quits. And so we're seeing a price drop, right? But the difficulty is still really hard. And if it's going to continue to drop, you want to try and take what profits when you can, even if it's a little bit, just to kind of hold yourself above while the time's going further, right? So it's not unheard of to hear that a lot of these Bitcoin miners are trying to sell during times like these. They need to be able to keep the lights on and the power running, right? So I think that's very interesting to keep in mind. As it is right now, Bitcoin is down 0.5% at 0.45. It's starting to climb up just a little bit. Tomorrow is going to be a very important day, Sunday. It's a weekly close. We need to try and close in a little bit of a better light. If it passes below $10,000 and closes below $10,000 on a more macro-based scale, that's not going to look too good. It's still not the worst, but it's not looking too good, so it's more of a sign that in the short term we could see a more bearish-based trend pattern. Orchid is down negative 2.12%, 32 cents approximately based off of Coinbase's metrics. Hopefully this video was helpful for you guys. Once again, guys, if you have not yet done so, make sure you hit that subscribe button. Hit the like button. Can we get to 50 likes? Can we do it? And drop a comment down below. Let me know what you thought about this analysis. Do you have any thoughts, opinions, feedback? Do you guys like Orchid? Do you think it's a good cryptocurrency? Do you want me to continue doing more research on this? I'm talking more about it because in previous videos you guys said that you would like me to talk more about this, as well as the technical analysis on Bitcoin. Are you guys okay with me talking about Bitcoin? Do you guys have another cryptocurrency that you really, really want me to try and focus on? I appreciate you guys. You're my community, and I want to try and give you guys the best kind of information in a short little time frame as I can. Thank you guys so much. Love you guys, and I'll see you in the next episode.